Hello, good evening. This is Joy News Prime. The opposition National Democratic Congress vows to take its entire demonstration across all 16 regions in the country to force the government to drop the controversial E-levy policy as thousands of Ghanaians join its protest against the policy. Also, with or without a Joasafo, E-levy will be approved. That's according to the majority in Parliament, who are rejecting claims that delay over the approval of the E-levy is due to the absence of the Domi Kovinya MP from the chamber.
And make that rhetoric or try to make that justification that is the case. It's not the case. The E-levy, when government is ready to take it, government will take it.
And NDC fights of claims as in North MP James Jachikweson is evading court processes.
On your way to Parliament and returning from Parliament, you cannot be served. And so it is for the bailiffs to find ways of ensuring that they are able to serve him without breaching the Constitution.
In business, we won't back down. That's government's response to the growing concerns about the E-levy.
We know that once you introduce a tax, there will be attrition rate. People will initially resist and try to avoid it and all that. Even that has been factored to about 24% of attrition rate.
We are live on your DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 144. This is your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. Stay for details. Now, with or without a Joasafo, E-levy will be approved. That's according to the majority in Parliament, who have rejected claims the delay over the approval of the E-levy is due to the absence of Domi Kovinya MP from the chamber. The Domi Kovinya MP, since the resumption of Parliament this year, has failed to show up in the chamber. This has led to concerns that the NPP is unable to champion government agenda because of the shortfall in their numbers. Before we hear from the Deputy Majority Whip, here is the Member of Parliament for New Jobbing South, Michael Otri-Befi, speaking on Kumasi-based Hello FM.
Make us say, you boy, I'll say, boy, yes, a pampam. MP before your Parliament, year 138. Make Honorable Speaker of Parliament, right? Honorable Deputy Speaker of Parliament, can wear 138, and your majority caucus. Majority caucus, 137 AMP before. And MP before the BR 136 Eco Parliament, back with your shoma. Now, and before Casa, no, there's 7 and I'm chairing, and then make a plane in your plane fan. And then Monday, you ra a Joasafo, you know Parliament.
What you cry now?
The baby or one the other pseudonym.
Such some will wait for one more.
And no, I mean clearly her intentions and the behavior and the push and say of also sabotage MPP. And this thing is something that I am speaking on authority because it's also and also they are sending and change
because make kind the compare cocaine. We have also a binomo. I say one at the almost seat na I a bargaining chip. You don't do this to me. I'm not coming. I'm not pushing government.
138 majority caucus. 138.
For how long? And as a member of Parliament,
for some time. I mean, just your panic chow. Just say, and your problems are you come as a political party, and as a government, maybe doing that kuswa. I just have for our member of Parliament for Domi Kovinya. When you be free, on a pay. It's not say, yeah, I can now go Parliament. And I'm saying, then you don't bring out things like the way you are talking about. What you are talking about now. You just told me, say, honorable
I is quoted as saying
it is a whole person would be a blue chip and a person blackmail party. No, say, Mama, majority.
Deputy
majority leader,
Parliament. Some were very articulate, very vibrant, very active and intelligent.
As a party, no
Deputy Majority Leader. I think
Alexander.
Is he not doing well?
He's doing exceptionally well.
But
the point is that political party, a friend of MPP, Edu and Mara was a call a speed. So one person can.
Well, the Deputy Majority Whip, Habib Idrisu, has denied the absence of the Domi Kwabena MP is negatively impacting on their numbers.
The E-levy, as it started, you have been in this house and you have seen the way we have handled it. We are engaging. She was there when the budget was passed. She was there when the appropriation was passed. The E-levy, which was just a component that's supposed to come in the form of a bill. Even the day we were having the issue of whether it should come under the certificate of agency or not, she was there. So E-levy hasn't been presented in the house and you haven't seen her. So to sit down and make that rhetoric or try to make that justification that is the case. It's not the case.
It's not the case for the delay.
The E-levy, when government is ready to take it, government will take it.
And will you have her to partake in the voting?
It is not cast on stone that if not the presence of Honorable Adjoa, the E-levy cannot be passed. We have been able to pass a lot of things in this house without having the whole house, where even the election of the speaker, who is an NDC member, was elected, but NDC didn't have the number that he had for the election. So when we come
with or without Adjoa's presence, you will approve the
yes, the E-levy. Yeah, the E-levy will definitely be approved.
When is Adjoa returning to Parliament? Because he hasn't been in Parliament.
That is not for the public to know. She is an elected member of Parliament for the people of Domi Kwabena. When she is in the house, she is in the house, and when you want to see her, you know where to see her. But
you don't know when she's returning to Ghana?
I am not going to answer that question because it is not necessary for me to answer. Because it is not like Adjoa Safo is the one who is coming to move the motion. It is not the case that Adjoa Safo, without her, the E-levy, we are not going to talk about it. We have been debating about it. We have been reducing. We have been doing things. Do you see her being there? No. So things are going to happen.
What are you saying to your colleagues? And this is my final question. What are you saying to your colleagues who are agitated that Adjoa Safo is the reason government hasn't been able to pass the E-levy? What are you saying to them? Because some are on record to have said that the only reason why the E-levy has dragged is because of Adjoa Safo's absence.
You mean my colleagues from the NDC?
No, from the MPP.
I haven't heard any member from the MPP saying so I cannot actually speak to that.
Biffy is on record to have said that.
I haven't heard him saying that.
OPK has said that.
I haven't heard him saying that.
The MP says the revised bill will reduce the levy from 1.75% to 1.50% and added that it will not be tabled before the House Friday due to the ongoing town hall meetings. The Tolon MP also argued that those demonstrating against the e-levy do not reflect the views of over 30 million Ghanaians. He insists government will not back down on the levy.
The demonstration that happened today, yes, we all know that demonstration is a constitutional right. You have the right to demonstrate. But the fact is that it doesn't mean that all those who come to demonstrate are representing about 30-point-something million Ghanaians. I am also a Ghanaian. I am not
representing,
but I am not.
That's
why I'm also a Ghanaian. I'm not against e-levy. So you cannot say all Ghanaians. I'm a Ghanaian. I vote, and I am not against e-levy because I know the importance of the e-levy. I know the impact of the e-levy that it will have in terms of the development of this nation. So section of the population are actually registering their displeasure about the e-levy, but it is not the case that everybody is rejecting the e-levy.
In spite of all the concerns raised by the ordinary Ghanaian, government is not backing on this e-levy.
No, you don't put it that way. Despite all concerns raised by ordinary Ghanaians, government is able to do something about the rate, is able to do something about the expenditure, is able to do something about the impact on the telecos. So government is a listening government, and government have been able to do a lot in terms of the e-levy.
Meanwhile, the Deputy Majority Whip further observed that a future NDC government will increase the rate of the levy. He was responding to the General Secretary of the NDC, who says the party will scrap the levy when elected into office.
The agitation, or let me just say the demonstration we witnessed today, and some of the utterances that the NDC is making, trust me, I told you, when NDC come, if e-levy is passed today, and you can quote me anywhere at 1.5%, it's rather unfortunate NDC will not come to power in 2024 because they have nothing new to offer Ghanaians. If there was a case they were coming, they will not scrap it. They will rather.
The General Secretary said they will scrap it.
No, they will not.
Even is on record. They will terminate, scrap the e-levy.
No, on record to say that when they have their People's Manifesto, and if you go to the People's Manifesto on page 99, they made it cast on stone, on C, paragraph C, saying that when they come, they were going to pass something on e-levy. And if it was NDC who had won the 2020 election, they were bringing e-levy at 5%. And they have done 17.5% on VAT. They would have done that on e-levy. And no demonstration or any consultation on Ghanaians would have listened. We are where we are, and they are making this noise just because they think of the numbers we have in Parliament. That's number one. They think about the fact that if government is able to raise the revenue, we'll be able to do much work, and John Mahama cannot come to power. That is the reason why they are making this noise. They don't care about Ghanaians.
Well, let's stay a while longer in Parliament because the minority is demanding an unqualified apology from the chairperson of the Roads and Transport Committee, Kennedy Osei Nyako, claims that the NDC in Parliament gifted the majority leader with an E-levy designed cake on the occasion of his 65th birthday. Minority Whip, Chief Whip Muntaka Mubarak, who is upset with the allegations, observed that the NDC caucus was not involved in the birthday party, a situation he described as shocking and disappointing. In the view of the Swansea MP, the majority leader has allowed the debates on the floor of the House to affect his personal relationship with friends in the caucus. Speaking to Joy News, Kwesi Parker-Wilson, Muntaka Mubarak described the allegation as preposterous.
I thought it was just a speculation that was going around. I mean, we were never even invited to a birthday party, not alone to even know that there was going to be a birthday to send a cake. You see, this is the problem that we have. The kind of problem that they keep creating and we keep drawing their attention. But you see, they keep laughing over it. Because you see, when you tell this kind of lies on a minority and you want that minority to take you serious, when you say, come and let's talk, I mean, what impression are you trying to create?
Kennedy Osei Nyako, who made this allegation as a minority, a chief whip, what do you expect from him?
I expect him to withdraw this and apologize to us, because he knows that he was lying, and as a member of Parliament, especially as a chair of a committee, he knows that he has to be taken very seriously by the House. Now, if he can tell such a lie, I doubt whether when he brings a report to the floor, he expects us to take him serious in anything that he says. To do the honorable thing, he must withdraw this comment and apologize to us, because he knows that he was lying. I'm surprised. I'm shocked, because I know that, yes, we have our differences. We disagree a number of times, I mean, very strongly, but I could not believe that a birthday, especially not just any other birthday. I know 50, 60, 65, 70. It's a milestone, and I would have expected that he would have invited us. Maybe he decided to do it. If he had done it maybe with only the family, quiet, there was, oh, maybe he has chosen to do it with only his family, so maybe he chose to do it quietly in the House. But now I could see in the picture that was going around, the Vice President was there, so many other, the regional minister was there, and I thought that he's now becoming petty for not even inviting us. I mean, that means he's taking what's happening into this House beyond the House. And you see, it explains the kind of leader that he is. Because I keep saying that we have our strongest of differences. We could argue. That's why I keep telling you. Sometimes they say that, Muntaka, you are a pretender. I'm not. Because I keep the work that we do separate from the relations that we have.
Well, the opposition National Democratic Congress has vowed to take its Yentia demonstration across all 16 regions in the country to force government to drop the controversial E-levy policy. The youth wing of the party led thousands of Ghanaians to hit the streets of Accra Thursday in protest of the levy, which they say will further worsen the plight of ordinary people. The levy, since its announcement by the finance minister, has led to rigorous debates and near fisticuffs in Parliament. In an unprecedented move to get it passed, the government has had several meetings to get the buy-in of the people, but that is yet to succeed in convincing the people. Maxwell Agbagba covered the demonstration for us. Here is the report.
This protest, you can see Joshua Kamba, organizer of the NDC, telling the people to take their time. this has created some kind of gridlock heading to the central business district. Because a lot of vehicles are unable to move. If you work in the central business district, someone mentioned to me that if you work in the central business district, as for today, you get to work tomorrow. His exact words. So these are the concerned students.
Yeah, concerned students.
University students of Ghana.
It's so, it doesn't make sense. Like apparently, it doesn't make sense. Why do you charge high for common students? Assuming I'm supposed to receive something as chop money for school, only the charges will make my parents not want to send me. It's not fair. Okay. It's not fair. The government should do something about it.
Look at the size of 22 KK. 2 cities. 2 cities. KK. KK. But this is big. Come again. This is big. If it is big, it's 5 cities. No, 5 cities. 5 cities. So these 2 cities KK. Ghana that we are now. And look at the leaders that is ruling us. Nana Akufo-Addo and Bawumia, they are totally killing this nation. Bawumia vote them out of power.
My name is Isaka Inusa. Isaka.
You are an Okada rider?
Yeah, I'm an Okada rider.
Why are you taking part in this protest?
Because of the fuel price is too high. It's too high, that's why we are taking a demonstration. And the E-levy too is too much. If we want to send money to our parents in the village, they will take 1.7%. So we can't pay. So we are demonstrating against it.
President
of leader.
Okay, so you're the leader of the KIA.
Yes.
Why are they taking part in this?
Yeah, but that's not an advocate say. You bet you are no because Bawumia Kasabaheno, Bawumia say tax, young to your tax, or no, or bad power, young to your tax. Bande, everyone wants say, Bawumia to meet you now, I can say a bet to your tax.
Okay, well, Jamila is a leader for the headquarters here who are also taking part in this protest. And she's saying that the Vice President, Mahmoud Bawumia, told them that they will not pay tax. That was in the heat up to the elections. But she's surprised now that he's the one talking about the payment of taxes.
The NTIC and to your tax. Yakuya Gayo for Yakwa Swa, Yanaka and Suya. Ukwa, Unyakura, Ebia 20 cities and 30 cities. A week of Sumas and the woman send this Kama woman minimum. It is a Saudi 100 cities. A week now with the best and Yama woman Mia. So I go so the Kawa. You are 24 years. Say Yana to Abanuman. Yana to Abanu. Amano and Oba power no soro. And then what you say Obama tax am I to ya. And this also on you for Muswa. And on the Yashi, Yan him say to Abanu. Yan to Mano Chinapio. Or Nibawum Lai.
Well, she says if government goes ahead to impose this tax on them, it would have political implications. She says it would have political implications, and you're not going to vote. You're not going to vote for the New Patriotic Party in the 2024 general elections.
Even then, the numbers as you see them is very, very impressive. But the problem is that the government is not credible. So what the people are saying is that this government has been playing monkey business with Ghanaians for more than 5 years now. That is the point. It's not about what they are saying. So you don't cite what liars tell you. You don't rely on what people who are not trustworthy will be communicating to you. So the problem is that there is no trust. There is a trust deficit between the citizens and the government. And so that is why it will not serve any purpose to now be arguing based on what liars are telling you.
So if the government had demonstrated the credibility, or let's say shown or proven that it can properly handle our money and account for it, then this wouldn't have a problem with that, I believe.
That is the problem. They cannot handle money. And they have proven so far that they have messed us up. You took an economy which was rated at B+. You came down to B, came down to B-. You are now at C. So how can you tell us that we are on the right path, so you are now coming to tell us what will be a panacea for our economic problem?
Meanwhile, the NDC says it will stage similar protests across the country to mount pressure on government to, of course, abandon the bill. Here's chairperson of the party, Samuel Ampofu, addressing the protesters after the petition was presented to Parliament.
University students are to fear 5 weeks. Nakofu amusi wamu create employment amawom. Yaba to aba, omu the forms to buy say on buy on permanent no, and omu nyina eden egu fie. Na ena sa wo hwa, sa wo person hu sa na Ghana ayadria ko su ni labadi na koto dokun, na he dokun size. The size of kenke and fish will tell you how the economy of this country is shrinking. Enunti yasam ne say abaya yedi sika sha won sasa hwe o man so. Auditor General report about few when Kwan say about 12.38 billion cedis. Muntmin count for it. Na emwa ekwa didie no maya yesa gya bigu mu ana. Anu ti agina ha ebo emabu ni nyina abaso. Na ya ka kire aban ni say this is just the beginning of series of protests that will take place across the length and breadth of this country. We are going to engage every Tom, Dick and Harry. Nasa Nana Akufo-Addo. 1995. Nana Akufo-Addo sorry say on person VAT or the babano or manipa who can have. A very peaceful demonstration to show that we are very civil and we are very disciplined. Clap for yourself because you have done very well. Media Mijina ha. Let me person me catch Ghana for say. Yande yani 137 gallant MPs now our parliament. We said no to E-levy.
Well, fortunately, one of the leaders of the demonstration, who doubles as the Deputy National Youth Organizer of the NDC, Eric Edem Agbana, is joining us tonight to have a conversation on this. Good evening to you, sir. Welcome to Joy News Prime. So obviously, this is just the first of many that are yet to come. But what's your impression of today's demonstration?
Good evening, and thank you very much. Good evening to all our cherished viewers across the world. Today's demonstration was a big success. As organizers of the demonstration, we had expectations, and I'm happy to report that we exceeded our expectations with the success of the demonstration. One, in terms of attendance, we got very, very impressive numbers, and these are people who, out of their own love for the country and to demonstrate their interest, decided to join us. Secondly, was a violent-free or incident-free demonstration. We worked closely with the police and the NDC and the coalition's own internal security, and we ended the demonstration without any casualty. And so, for me, as a member of the coalition, I am happy to report that we exceeded our own expectations, and we are very happy. We are impressed with what we saw, with what we did, and we are happy to replicate this in all the other regions across the country.
And all you seem to be doing now is to assess what's happening now based on the streets manifestations. But the other leg of the concern is about the petition you submitted to Parliament. You're seeking government, or Parliament by extension, to act on the demands that you're making. Are you hopeful that this protest would change anything?
Yes, there is a reason why we did not submit a petition to the President. And that is simply because we have absolutely no confidence in the ability of the government to listen to our concerns and deal with it. These governments have demonstrated time without number that they are recalcitrant and they do not care about the good people of this country. And so that is why we did not even present a petition to them. But talking about Parliament, it is the house of the people, the representative of the people. We are very hopeful that at least the 137 gallant men and women who are in Parliament on the ticket of the NDC, and a speaker who has shown his commitment to ensure that we protect the interests of the good people of Ghana, will ensure that this E-levy does not pass.
Whichever way you look at it, the New Patriotic Party side of the House has an additional seat, making them 137 in terms of the majority. So if you're seeking to change anything, you would still need the buy-in of the New Patriotic Party?
Ideally, we really need at least one or two of them to be true to their conscience and to be true to their constituents and join the NDC to oppose this E-levy. But so far, they have demonstrated that they are embarking on a groupthink. However, we still think that the 137 members of parliament that we have so far, with 137, held the fort, and that is why the E-levy was not passed last year or in January. And so we are still confident that the 137 will be able to get the results for us. And one thing that is key, it's also the fact that even as the government is embarking on town hall meetings, they are facing stiff opposition from the people. Well, all these 137 plus 1 on the side of the NPP, their constituents are not in agreement with this E-levy.
Well, in 2016, John Dramani Mahama told us that governance was a serious business. Don't you feel that that's a similar situation in which we find ourselves today?
Governance being a serious business does not mean that when you want to impose hardship or a levy, that simply does not make sense. The people should just support you. Now, in this case, the NDC is not against government raising money, and it's important to state that. What we are saying is that government is seeking to raise 6.9 billion from this regressive E-levy. And that is even if the mobile money or the digital transactions as we have it remains the same. But we have been told by the telecommunication companies that from the very day the government announced their intentions to charge the E-levy, transactions dropped drastically. It means that they will not even be able to meet their projections. But assuming without even admitting that they raised the 6.9 billion that they are projecting, we are saying that we have alternative ways by which the government can raise far more than the 6.9 billion without charging that on the good people of Ghana. And we have given them these ways. One is that reduce government expenditure. The profligacy of this administration is too much. So reduce government expenditure is one of the ways that you can make some savings. Two, stop the corruption. As we speak, the Auditor General report reveals that over 12 billion is being lost to corruption, to irregularities on annual basis. And so we are saying that seal the loopholes and make some savings. The third thing that we have advised this government to do is that learn how to prioritize. A government that seriously needs money, the government that is saying that they lack resources, will not be funding the president to be embarking on trips with the most expensive, the most luxurious private jets, and paying about £15,000 an hour for these trips.
And I'm sure that this conversation will keep going.
It will keep going.
We have a minute to go, but do we know when next you are going, and what's the next region?
Just like we did with the Greater Accra one, we will have a conversation with the police, agree on a date, and communicate that to the public. But there's one thing that is sure, and I'm happy to tell you on authority, that the coalition will continue organizing the public manifestations until such a time that Parliament listens to the concerns of Ghanaians. But for the E-levy, we will not pay it today, we will not pay it tomorrow, and we will never, never pay it.
So that's the National Deputy Youth Organizer of the NDC, but there are more issues happening because Mr. Joseph Osei-Owusu, the first Deputy Speaker, presiding as Speaker, has directed that the petition which the NDC submitted today from the Coalition of Concerned Ghanaians against the Electronic Transactions Levy bill should await the Speaker himself, Alban Bagbin, for direction. The petition was received jointly by Mr. Frank Nodombre, who's the Majority Chief Whip, and Mr. James Kluchi-Aveji, who is the Deputy Minority Leader. The first Deputy Speaker gave the directive on the floor of Parliament on Thursday when Haruna Idrisu, the Majority Leader, sought to know whether or not he should seek to invoke Order 76 to table the petition or it should wait for the main speaker, Alban Bagwin himself.
The petition, I requested the leaders to receive it on behalf of Mr. Speaker. I've looked at the petition. It is addressed to Mr. Speaker. I think the appropriate location is hand it over to the person to whom it is intended. Then he will give directions as to how to do it.
Well, so you had the first Deputy Speaker there, but Adam is still here with us in studio. How would you respond to the first Deputy Speaker?
Well, I think ideally, sitting in for the Speaker, he should have attempted at least going through the petition or starting a conversation on it. But personally, I'm happy, and this is my personal position. I'm happy because by all intent and purposes, by all his actions and utterances, he is so recalcitrant that he was ready to engage in an illegality to have the E-levy passed. And so I'm happy he's leaving it for the Speaker, who has demonstrated integrity and his willingness to protect the interests of Ghanaians to come and speak to the petition. So I'm happy that the Right Honorable Alban Subana Bagbin will be the one to address the petition.
Adam Agbana, I'm grateful. Still to come here on Join His Prime, we won't back down. That's government's response to growing concerns about the E-levy.
We know that once you introduce a tax, there will be attrition rate. People will initially resist and try to avoid it and all that. Even that has been factored to about 24% of attrition rate.
Of course, you're welcome to Business. I'm Charles Aite. Government remains resolute. It says it will be able to rake in the 6.9 billion cedi projected revenue from the controversial electronic transaction levy. Now, this is because all the agitations by stakeholders have been addressed. Speaking at the Economic Governance Platform Public Forum on the E-levy, a Deputy Finance Minister, Dr. John Kuma, exclaimed that it is the way to avoid further borrowing for critical developmental projects. We have more in this extensive report.
The forum, organized by the Economic Governance Platform, Advocates for Christ Ghana, and supported by Joy Business, was focused on the country's rising debt levels as well as the electronic transaction levy. Many have raised concerns about the ability of the country to raise the targeted revenue due to some pressures on businesses and the economy as a whole. However, Deputy Minister of Finance John Kuma disagrees.
If anybody tells you that we are not going to get that figure, tell him it's not true. We believe in what we have done. It is a very, very conservative figure. And even we know that once you introduce a tax, there will be attrition rate. People will initially resist and try to avoid it and all that. Even that has been factored to about 24% of attrition rate. We factored all those things in coming into. And sometimes I'm very careful at pointing to that because the next time the headline will come, Puma says that Momo users have been reduced by 24%, which is not what I'm saying. I'm only saying that in our revenue projections, we did attrition rate with that figure so that in case we want to hit a certain amount that we expect to get, and it's even dropping, we will still be within the range.
He also used the platform to reject calls by some sections of society that the country should go back to the International Monetary Fund for an economic program.
Nothing wrong with discipline, but there is social and political and economic consequences for going through an IMF program. And you and I know that before the NDC government left, we had formed Graduate Unemployment Association in our country. About 100,000, we had to introduce what we call NAPCO to absorb about 100,000 graduates who had completed school for 3-4 years with no opportunity in the public sector. A lot of consequences will come when you want to go through a certain path.
Meanwhile, the country representative of the International Monetary Fund, Dr. Albert Tunamama, has urged stakeholders, including the government, to focus on policy measures that will revive the economy rather than going to the IMF for an economic program. According to him, although an IMF program is a good one for the short term, it is not sustainable if drastic policy measures are not followed.
So I think there is so much emphasis on the conditionalities that it seems that they come out of nowhere. These are negotiated reforms that need to happen in order to get yourself out of the difficult situation. And for this reason, we have no doubt that the program with the IMF will be extremely helpful in the current situation. But we are mindful, and we've had these conversations, that that's not the direction that the government wants to take. And I think that, and I'll call on all the stakeholders, the focus should be on what else needs to happen. Fine, the IMF is not a solution. Let's focus on the reforms. Let's focus on the spending streamlining. Let's focus on the policy package that is out there to fix the problems that I have listed. That's where the focus should be.
Economics Professor Godfred Bokpin challenged government to block the financial loopholes in the tax system to raise the necessary revenue rather than going ahead with the E-levy.
The point that we are making here is that we all agree Ghana needs more money. We need to scale up our tax effort and all of that. The mode, the medium, the strategy to achieve that must be equitable, must be progressive, and must also recognize the realities on the ground that, as Prof. Accra said, that whilst government is struggling at the aggregate level, it's a reflection of the individuals, households, and also firms. And therefore, whatever tax measures you introduce to solve your problem at the apex level must reflect reality in an inequality worsening pandemic that we have. So how do you do that progressively? I put here close leakages. Kwachi also talked about that. In Ghana, we lose as much as we are able to collect. This tax effort is approximately 13% of GDP. Ghana loses as much as that. That actually, when you look at that, is in excess of 77 billion cedis in current terms. So what it means is that we could actually measure on closing those leakages rather than measuring on a minor, which is E-levy. That is where we need to focus our attention. If we don't do that, and we can introduce additional tax handles, and it will still not solve the problem. We'll be here. And why am I saying so? It's not 1.75 or even 1.5. Last year, government introduced COVID levy. 1%. Okay. Sanitation levy. We prayed to God and then we moved on. But this one, we are not only praying, we are taking some practical steps that it doesn't happen, this E-levy.
Professor Charles Accra, speaking on domestic revenue mobilization, rejected claims that the only alternative to revive the economy is through the electronic levy.
How do we bring in the property taxes? How do people live in this country in luxury, in estates, 7-bedroom houses, and they don't pay taxes? By the way, as I conclude, the European Union trying to introduce more taxes, 3 more taxes. None of them is E-levy. None of them is E-levy. It's a tax on carbon. So that is targeting rich people who are driving high-value big V8, the airline industry that have money and they are polluting the environment. It's a tax on multinational companies that are rich and have made a lot of profit even through this COVID. So for example, we can talk about during this COVID when hotels are collapsing. Many of us were forced to online activities, which means that the telecoms have made a lot of profit. Why can't we sit with them and say, no, you must contribute to the recovery of the economy? Everybody, all school children were online. So whilst hotels were collapsing and schools were collapsing, telcos were making money. Some sectors benefited. Check the statistics, you will see that some sectors benefited a lot. These are the sectors that are being taxed in Europe. They are not going to tax mobile transactions. I don't think any economists will agree to that. So I think that, yes, government definitely need more money. We need to all pay taxes and we need to make sure that the tax system is fair. And we should target those who are not paying taxes and bring them in. And let's think about innovative ideas. By the way, why do we have to abolish the road tolls if we need more money? And if the excuse is that it's causing traffic, is there no other innovative ways of solving the traffic problem? Because that's money that we are throwing away for this month. I don't agree that because of traffic, then we should say anybody can go to the airport and that they should not pay airport tolls or parking tolls. There's any way we should think about it. Other countries have those taxes. You can go to Hong Kong, go to China, go to Europe, go to America. They have road tolls and it's not causing traffic. So I disagree.
Executive Director of Pen Plus Byte, Juliet Amwa, expressed confidence that the suggestions made at the forum will be considered in the ongoing E-levy debate.
Had some kind of raging debates about Ghana's current
debt crisis, the government of Ghana has proposed to impose an E-levy on all electronic and financial transactions. Citizens are split in opinion, and we know that there's a cohort that thinks that we might as well just go to the IMF now, and that rather than tax the electronic pockets of citizens. There's another cohort, obviously, that thinks that there's nothing essentially wrong with an e-tax, but there is everything wrong with an e-levy. And there's yet a third cohort of Ghanaians who are just waiting in the wings to, as it were, take us back to the cash-wielding economy that we were a few years ago. And this last group is mostly traders and service providers. They're just waiting in the wings. Now, in the ensuing noise of that debate, it's easy to lose objectivity. It's easy to lose the integrity that is required for such an endeavor as we have on our hands. And it's also easy to lose the kind of unflinching resolve that is needed to push through to the right decisions and actions. So today, the Economic Governance Platform, the Advocates for Christ and our media partners, Joy FM Multimedia Group, are here, and we want to collectively provide a space that is safe and nurturing, where we can discuss, devoid of all the noise that's happening, findings from the civil society space and also from the academic community. We want to proffer some considered solutions and strategies to the government of Ghana.
The theme for the public forum is E-levy, IMF, or what sustainable solutions to Ghana's debt crisis.
And of course, we shall have more on Ghana's economy on PM Express at 9 p.m. Please stay tuned for that. In the meantime, we have sports coming up shortly.
Good evening and welcome to the sports segment. Live striker Augustine Ahimfo for the team's long-term goals rather than short-term. Chris Hughton, Otto Addo, Didi Dramani and George Boateng have been given the mandate to lead Ghana in next month's World Cup playoff against Nigeria. For Augustine Ahimfo, the appointment of the four-man technical team.
The technical team put together for just a Nigerian match. I think these names that you've mentioned would have been better if it was probably going to be now and then into the future. But we have just 2 games against Nigeria, and you have to put all these people together for such a match. I think it's one too many. Why am I saying this? Because if you look at the Nigerian structure that they just announced, Augustine Agwavon, the technical director of the federation, is still the head. They've brought in Aminike as the chief coach, because the Nigerians like to use the word chief all the time. And so in this case, if you should refer to the premiership structure, you can say he's the head coach, because the manager is now a Agwavon. Then the head coach of the team is there, and then you have the assistants. And it's not only for the match you are coming to play against them. It is also for the future, that after this game, they will continue. Because in their own thinking, they think they did well during the Nations Cup. Unfortunately, they lost to Tunisia. Now, we have put these persons together for just this Nigerian match, and they are going to meet, it's just a week. And so to put all these people together just for this match, anyway, in their wisdom, but I think it's too many people put together for just a game. But if they are all together for the future, I think it is good. So the FA should really look at this and be clear, like I stated earlier, be clear on what really they want us to believe or do going into the future. If Otto Addo, they want him to be the head coach, yes. If they want Chris Hughton to be the head coach, so be it. For the future, we need to plan and plan well. It's as simple as that.
Meanwhile, football coach and analyst Nana Ajiman is surprised no local coach showed interest in the vacant Black Stars coaching job.
I have a lot of banter with members of the Coaching Association of Ghana, and they say to me that the CAF license A is the equivalent of the UEFA Pro license, and I'll laugh all day long over that. But since I have to take it that way, I asked them, there's over 150 of you, why don't any of you apply for the Black Stars job? And then they become mute.
Okay.
They become very, very quiet. But at the same time, we are advocating for locals to take up this role. And there you have 150 qualified A-licensed coaches, and they're not even going to be considered because they don't even have the confidence to put themselves forward. If Didi Dramani had not been appointed, do you think he would have applied?
No way, because he's going through a certain process at FC Northland where he has a responsibility of being a transitional coach. Maybe he feels that this is not the time for him. Maybe sometime in the future he would apply because he would feel he's ready to be the substantive.
Well, he's there now, and I hope he grows into the job. And
same here.
Well, that wrap up the sports segment here. I'll be back in the next hour to bring you the latest in the world of sports. My name is Oriku Ampofo.
Well, let's check out what's happening in the world of entertainment. Becky is here. Hello, Becky.
Hello to you, Blessings. How are you?
Well, I can't complain.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Yeah, right.
Let's talk about reviving the Ghanaian movie industry. Yvonne Nelson was on Daybreak Hit this morning, and she's been talking about how they can revive the once vibrant movie industry. She said that if everyone, including her colleagues, Majid, Dumelo, name them, if everyone decides that I'm going to produce, a single movie, the industry will be a better place.
Movies in Ghana, they say near collapse. Can it be revived?
It can. For example, if John Dumelo, Jackie Appiah, Nadia Barry, Yvonne Okoro, Van Vicker, Majid Michel, we all become producers. I believe, everyone is going to see it. The revival will be seen. So I'm just urging people, not just outsiders or people who have money. We can do it on our own. I can't be the only one always going around talking, oh, let's do this, we're looking for this, infrastructure, this. No, we ourselves, people can see that we're not even bothered about the industry. We don't care if it crashes or not. So yeah, if we can all start producing and helping the younger ones also showcase, their talents, I believe we will start from somewhere. Yeah, it'll get somewhere.
And everyone is indeed excited about this movie.
Yeah, so this is actually the movie, except for the movie that they're promoting. It comes off on the 14th, The Men We Love. You should go and see it at the cinema. So you know that Michi, formerly Shatta Michi, was also...
I see how tempted you are.
I don't want to say it. Was also on the same set with Yvonne Nelson, and they came to Hit FM together. And Michi was asked about, obviously her relationship with Shatta Wale. She said that they don't have any relationship, but she did mention that Shatta Wale discovered her music career.
Had you always been doing music, or it was because of your engagement with Shatta Wale?
Yes, I can say he discovered that, that part of me in a more professional way, like as a profession. But I've always been singing. High school was church. Saturday entertainment, I'm there. Sunday church, I'm there. Monday Kostobutu, I'm there. That stage was mine, man. Did
he write songs for you?
Yes, he did. Low Tempo was written for me.
Oh, but Low Tempo, it was out. I mean, do you have songs written for you by Shatta Wale that you've not released yet?
Yes.
Are you going to release them?
Yes, I will. I'll give him credit for writing.
Oh, wow. Yes. What's your relationship with him, though?
Strangers.
Well, what do you mean, strangers?
Strangers. Yeah.
Why? Like, you guys don't talk?
Not at all.
There's nothing to talk about.
Well, Becky, I'm just praying that this will not instigate any reactions from
Of course,
Shatawale
no.
himself.
We're not doing anything wrong. We're not harming anybody. We're just telling the story as it is.
Right.
And, you know, Michi also mentioned, why do you go to church, by the way? Do you go to church?
Salvation is the aim, isn't it?
Okay, so here is why Shatamichi goes to church. Listen.
To church to do business.
In church?
Yeah, I sell jollof for. So where there are people, I see consumers of my food.
Right.
So if I come to your church and I offer you lunch, know that the next thing is, you know, cooking buffet.
So so you go there. Oh, so it means you don't go there to listen to anything. You don't pay your tithe. You don't pay collection.
I pay tithe. Yeah, I'm a spiritual person, not religious. I pay tithe, sometimes to a church, sometimes to, you know, people who actually need it. I pray a lot. You know, every gospel song makes me cry.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have that connection with my God. I feel like my prayers are answered so fast from home.
Okay.
My church part, yeah.
Well, maybe this is another definition of Christ being the bread of life. I don't know if that's what we should say. But I mean, why would you go to church just for, selling
she clearly explained why she goes to church. Well, I mean, you can also go to church and sell whatever it is that you want. But, well, we wish Shatamichi all the best.
That's all we can say.
Yeah, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Becky. We'll return shortly after this break. Stay with us. The opposition National Democratic Congress is questioning why court officials and state prosecutors are not using laid-down constitutional processes to serve Asin North Member of Parliament James Jachi Kwesen with court processes. The MP is in a subject of multiple legal actions that can potentially affect his stay in Parliament. He's yet to show up in court. His lawyers today informed the Supreme Court they had filed an application to challenge its earlier ruling. The individuals who have been fighting the MP right from the High Court say the legislator is delaying the court's processes. Correspondent Joseph Akable has the rest of the story.
Richard Mensah, who speaks for Michael Ankoma Nimfa, a resident of Asin North who filed an election petition against the MP, says the legislator is evading court processes.
As I've always been saying, it is a delay strategy, a delay task that they are employing. But they say that the wheels of justice grind slowly, but it shall definitely get to its destination. They cannot, and I repeat, they cannot employ this delayed tactics in perpetuity. This case shall surely come up for determination, and in the end, justice will be served in the form of a judgment on this case.
The MP's lawyers say they are challenging a decision of the Supreme Court to adjourn a February 8 proceeding to February 10. This, they explain, denied them of the legally allowed 7 days to file some documents. NDC Director of Legal Affairs, Abraham Maliba, says the right procedure must be followed.
That is false. We are here to deal with the rules of court. The rules of court require that when a motion is filed and then there is a reply and you also need to respond to some of the issues raised in the motion, you are given 7 days. Here we are, we're given less than 7 days. And that ruling is what we are contesting. So we'll file a review application of the decision of the court to give us lesser number of days to file our response. Now, the delay is not occasioned by we who are interested in ensuring that the case moves on. The delay is occasioned by the court's own decision to shortchange our time period. And so we decided that we'll come by a review so that the court will give us more time to file our responses. And so there's no delay here.
He's also rejected suggestions the MPs evading court processes.
All members of parliament, and says that on your way to parliament and returning from parliament, you cannot be served. And so it is for the bailiffs to find ways of ensuring that they are able to serve him without breaching the constitution. There has been a gentleman's agreement where the Speaker of Parliament has requested that if there are processes to be served on members of Parliament, they come through him. Why is that they don't want to go through the Speaker?
Cases involving the MP resumes next week. First is this challenge of the court's adjournment, which comes off on February 15, with a criminal case filed against the MP also coming up at the High Court on February 15 as well.
Now, a victim of recent market fires in Kumasi says he has learnt a valuable lesson about how petrol reacts in the slightest contact to fire. Jamal Olsuche lit an incense in his shop, at close range to fuel meant for his power generator, causing an inferno which nearly burnt him alive. He escaped with some burns to his face and hands. As firefighters saved a large part of the shop, he has been speaking to Love FM's Erastus Asari Donko.
Jamal started this baby shop with so much hope, but says the incense burning practice was to control bugs in his shop.
So anytime I do that, by the time I come Monday, I see it and I sweep them out. You don't know how they get in.
This time, the gallon of petrol sitting close to him drew the heat from the incense and sparked flames that surprised Jamal.
This one is just right where the fuel, I didn't know how, it just picked it up and it came up.
Jamal tells Love News he got trapped and needed to put out the flames around him before he could escape. He sustained burns to his face and arms, and his shop was set ablaze.
I was trying to exit the door because I was behind it. In order for me to come out, I have to quench it so that I could cross over and come out. So when I quenched it out, then I came out, then the first responder was here and they continued to finish the rest.
It took prompt intervention from fire officers to douse the flames. DO1 Rashid Nisau is Deputy Regional Fire Commander.
You can see that right behind is Times. If not for our intervention, the fire would have spread to Times. There is a clinic at the top. If not for our intervention, the clinic would have been affected. And then SGSSB is on our right. If not for our intervention, that one too would have gone down by now. And the gentleman himself is a living testimony of the effort that we have put here.
Jamal says he has learnt his lessons.
I'll never put a fuel, even an empty bottle, close to any place that there will be a fire.
Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko, Kumasi.
Now, the Member of Parliament for Subin, Eugene Boakye-Antwi, has proposed a mandatory re-engineering and rewiring of electrical installations on old buildings in the Central Business District of Kumasi to reduce the fire incidents. The legislator, who grew up in the Adum area, says many of the commercialized buildings are about 100 years old but still have old wiring installations. He says rewiring has become imminent to save lives and property. The MP has been visiting two shopping enclaves at Adum gutted by fire over the weekend. Love FM's Erastus Asari Donko has more on this.
On Friday, fire gutted 3 shops at Adum, the Ajekum building, destroying general goods, running into millions of Ghana cedis. The following day, fire gutted a baby shop about 300 meters from the first one inside the Central Business District. The MP for Subin, Eugene Boakye-Antwi, and the Deputy Regional Fire Officer, DO1 Rashid Nisau, have been visiting the 2 fire scenes. The MP told Love News many of the commercialized buildings need rewiring to prevent future fires.
Over the last 50 years or so, these were our family homes. This is where our parents were born and brought up. But the whole place has become commercialized. All family homes in Adum, even now, certain parts of Fantinita and Co, have turned into offices and shops. The wiring will have to be looked at. The pressure on the existing wiring, the pressure on other things must all be looked at. You can see this structure behind you. It's over 100 years old. Nothing, I believe, structurally has been done to it. The state institutions, EPA, fire service, blah, blah, blah. They all have to sit down and look at the buildings that ought to be collapsed and rebuilt with modern wiring taking place. If we don't do these things, then I suspect that these things will be hitting us every year or now and then.
The fire service says it is still conducting investigations to establish the official cause of the two fires to make recommendations. DO1 Rashid Nisau is Deputy Regional Fire Commander.
The one at Topman here is a straightforward story. The gentleman at the close of work would light an incense in the shop, and then he had a generator in the shop. He had petrol that he has been using to fuel the generator in there. Then he lighted the candle, the incense, and then the fuel vapor picked it. So like I explained, the moment you introduce heat, that is one element. The petrol is fuel, and there is oxygen in the environment. The triangle of combustion is complete. So he tried extinguishing the fire on his own by using a hose that he has been watering things with, and he didn't succeed. And in an attempt, you saw how he sustained burns. So that was it. So the fireman was passing by, saw it, and radioed, and immediately we're here. But as for the PZ issue, it's still under investigations. And over there too, we did a very good job because we prevented the Ajekum building from burning. Kufo Clinic is at the back. The fire never spread there, and a chain of 19 stores is left unburnt because of our rapid intervention.
Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaridonko, Kumasi.
The Ghana Medical Association says it fully supports the COVID-19 vaccine rollout and affirms that aside from people who are excluded for medical reasons, every person in Ghana should be encouraged to get vaccinated. Over the past 24 hours, the Coalition for Public Health and Justice demanded that government institutions desist from compelling their workers to take COVID-19 vaccines. According to the group, taking vaccines should be the choice of the individual. However, stating their position on the vaccine mandate policy, the Medical Association says, after a careful consideration of available data, the vaccines are safe and that the general public should be encouraged to take their doses. What you see on the screens now are excerpts of the statement from the Ghana Medical Association. It reads, point one, that based on the current data on effectiveness and safety of the COVID-19 vaccines approved for use in Ghana, the vaccines are safe and efficacious in helping combat the COVID-19 pandemic. Point two says that while vaccines are generally safe and effective, persons who take the vaccines may suffer some side effects, as it may be the case with already existing vaccines that have been used for decades. There is also point three, which says that the Ghana Medical Association fully supports the COVID-19 vaccination rollout and affirms that aside people who are excluded for medical reasons, every person living in Ghana should be encouraged to get vaccinated. Backing for any such vaccine mandate, and that's what the Medical Association has been indicating. They continue to indicate on point four that while the government has the power to institute a vaccine mandate as enshrined in the Public Health Act, the Ghana Medical Association is, however, of the considered opinion that vaccine mandates should only be issued as a last resort, owing to the ethical, legal, and practical challenges that it may pose. The Ghana Medical Association is also unaware of any executive instrument that has been promulgated giving the legal backing for any such vaccine mandates. Now, the mandates, if hastily implemented, may actually worsen anti-vaccine sentiment and vaccine hesitancy, especially when our case count continue to decline. So these are some of the excerpts of the statement that has been released by the Ghana Medical Association. There on your screens. Now, when computers actually hits the mainstream, the older guy in the office would always be seen typing using only two of his index fingers, while the younger tech-savvy colleague used all of their fingers on the keyboard quickly and fluently. What about when it comes to smartphones? A new study has revealed younger users adopt two-handed approach using both thumbs and to actually type. Now, while older users type on their phones with one hand. The younger ones type with both fingers. Now, Love FM's Kwesi Deborah has more on Tech Thursday.
Do you type on your smartphone with one hand, or your two thumbs are mostly at work?
All right, so basically I prefer using both hands, because in situations where, let's say, you want to type fast, you prefer to use both hands so that at least it will fasten your type. And also, let's say if you are not busy with your other hand, you also add that hand just to type.
I use both hands for typing mostly because I feel comfortable when I'm doing that.
I use my one hand for typing.
Of course, those who typed with both thumbs were fast. Dr. Kester Kwestafechi of the Ghana Technology University College believes emerging designs should be more inclusive and meet the demands and attitudes of older generations who are more excited at the prospect of using technology than their younger colleagues.
Even when you look at the keyboard settings, or we have different types of phones with how you handle it, you realize that you find it more comfortable working with one phone compared to working with the other phones also as well. And the more you age, the more difficult it is for you to have much more typing speed, unlike where you have young people who are able to do that. And nowadays, it's easy for you to even predict people that are behind the computers based on their typing patterns and how they interact with the computer as well, gives a form of profile of the user. I think the best approach is the predictive testing, where if in case based on how the phone that they use is able to understand them based on the keywords and other things they use often, those tools can help them in speeding up their typing. And then the speech to text also in the future will make it much more better for the older generations to be able to use their voice more to type and send messages rather than using the keypad. Because even as far back as a year before, John Hopkins was still using his mind, his blinking, and other things to communicate. And voice to speech or speech to text has been advanced over the years. So we can catch up with most of the things that makes it difficult for them to type in using their tongue. So in the future, some of these technologies will make it much more easier.
Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
Now, pupils of the Breman DA Basic School are not just excited about moving into a modern and safer classroom block, but also that the new school will attract newcomers who would have been otherwise enrolled in other schools in the neighboring community. Speaking to MFR Tiamwa Eli about their anxiety to move into the new building, some of the pupils say the structure will, for the first time, give them a peace of mind to learn. Details in the following report.
The new school building being constructed under the Multimedia Group's classroom project, when completed, will be roomier, have supporting academic facilities, and according to the pupils, will prevent some parents from sending their children to schools in neighboring communities because of the dangerous nature of the existing structure.
I'm very happy now. I hope this block will be very nice, and some of the people in my village are transferring their children to some of the private school here. Maybe when they saw that this building is very nice, they will transfer their children to here too. I will only wish for them to help us to finish this school early, because I really want to sit in this school to learn.
Say me say ICT lab or dan we mu your science laboratory or dan we mu ye be mu so a ye be feel comfortable. We say the classes you adia ye be feel well.
This school block, I'm so excited and happy to sit in it. All my friends want to sit in it.
The 3-unit classroom block is 50% complete. Over 300 children will be moved into the new structure on completion. The current structure is very weak and unsafe for academic work. The progress of work is giving hope to the dreams of these children and the entire community. Project supervisor and hydroform expert Samuel Kofi Agbenyega gives further detail on the components of the structure.
It's going to be a beautiful classic hydroform structure, which is fireproof, earthquake resistant, and the kids will be comfortable because the rooms are very spacious. We have to stick strictly to the GES standard. We gave them 3 big classrooms, and then we give them a library stroke ICT, and then a head teacher's office, and then a staff common room. So these are the units in the whole building.
The classroom projects brought to you kind courtesy the Star Ghana Foundation with funding from the Dutch Foreign Affairs Ministry. It is supported by the Israeli Embassy, Forestry Commission, the planned city extension project, DBS roofing sheets, and you, our cherished audiences. The classroom project, promoting social justice through philanthropy.
And don't forget to send your donations to MTN mobile number 0593 038 832 to support the classroom project. Now, Kaneshie District Court has granted Executive Director of ASEPA, Mensa Thompson, a 50,000 Ghana cedi bail with 2 sureties. Mr. Thompson was in court on charges of publication of fake news and offensive conduct in breach of public peace. Mensa Thompson was detained yesterday by the police after a complaint was lodged against him. The court, presided over by Oheneba Kufuor, is adjourned actually to March 14, 2022 for the continuation of the case. Lawyer for the accused, Kojogan Adaudu, spoke to Adom News' reporter Kojo Mensah Abrampa after the hearing. Well, elsewhere in the Upper West region, the Upper West Regional Minister, Dr. Hafiz bin Sali, has expressed concerns over the adulteration of fuel and its increasing cases of smuggling to neighboring countries. He stated that the region is not only notorious for smuggling of agricultural inputs, but petroleum products as well. He therefore called on the National Petroleum Authority to increase supervision and monitoring in the region. Dr. bin Sali made a statement when the National Petroleum Authority Chief Executive Officer Dr. Mustafa Hamid called on him in Wa. Join News' Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam has the rest of the story.
The National Petroleum Authority Chief Executive Officer Dr. Mustafa Abdul Hamid is on a 5-day tour of the 5 regions in the northern Gulf of the country and the border region. On arrival at the Upper West Regional capital, he first called on the Upper West Regional Minister, Dr. Hafiz bin Sali, at his office and laid bare his mission of the tour.
Now we are doing our regional tour to visit our regional offices to get what the challenges are in the regions and to see how we can help to address these challenges and ensure that Ghanaians continue to enjoy clean, wholesome petroleum products.
Dr. bin Sali, on his part, expressed concern over the adulteration of fuel and increasing cases of smuggling from the region to neighboring countries.
Our region is notorious for the smuggling of not only agri products but also fuel. And I want to assure you that as chairman of the Regional Security Council, we will liaise with you so as to be able to bring this issue to an end. Also, people have been complaining about the quality of fuel in the region. I believe strongly that most of the fuel operators adulterate their fuel. So I want your people in charge of quality assurance to up their game. They should go around frequently.
Responding to the concern of the regional minister, Director of Policy Coordination, Jacob Amwa, stated that they are aware of it and has put in measures, including naming and shaming of the actors to curtail it.
So what we are currently doing is we sanction those who fall foul to these activities, and then we lock up some of these stations. I think the other thing we are adding is we're going to start the naming and the shaming, so that we will publish these stations that we think have failed with time, and then at least to warn the motoring public not to patronize those stations. So these are activities we believe that once we enforce them would curtail this incidence of adulteration.
The MPA chief executive later called on the overlord of the Wala traditional area, Nafusin Siripilpo IV. He spoke of the increasing fuel prices at the world market, which the government is grappling with.
Comparatively, we are still better than many countries across the world. I'm sure you have heard about demonstrations and fighting, street fights, fires in places like Kazakhstan and so on because of the astronomical rise in the price of petroleum products. So we are trying one eye, and we shall continue to monitor the situation, and whatever it is, we shall recommend to the president, and as he has always done, we'll find ways of making life bearable for the Ghanaian people.
Reporting for the news, Rafik Salam. Wow.
And thanks for staying with us on Joy News Prime. When we return, we have business for you.
It's time for business with me, Charles Aite. The Ghana Integrated Aluminium Development Corporation is working with other government agencies to ensure protection of the environment in the mining of bauxite. This is under the take-off phase of the mineral resource estimate at the Western Region Range to validate bauxite reserves in the area. The Chief Executive Officer, Michael Ansah, says they are working with relevant agencies to ensure the mine activation does not affect the environment. Nana Aljima joined the leadership to inspect work done so far and has filed this report.
The Ghana Integrated Aluminium Development Corporation, GIADEC, is currently undertaking 4 projects being executed under the integrated aluminium industry. This forms the nucleus of efforts to build an integrated aluminium industry, which includes bauxite mining, alumina refinery and smelting. Presently, works being done at Inyinahini Mpasasu Range forms the Project 2 of the full plan with the hope of full mining by next year. Mr. Ansah explains.
So we're developing this concurrently. Project 2 has been signed, and that's why we've started. We've seen the work that's going on the hills. We are here at the sampling site where all the samples are being taken and refined and for testing and everything. All the preparation is happening here. So the work relating to Project 2 is ongoing. Project 3, we are in the final stages of negotiations that will lead to signing an agreement that will bring a partner to work with us in developing Project 3, which is the rest of Ninahin and also the Etiwa facilities. So we're looking at all of this concurrently. And I just want to assure Ghanaians that this development is going to be very consistent. It's going to be driven as a multi-year development plan.
Work at Inyinahini Mpasasu Range is being undertaken by Rockshore International with support from Sahara Mining. Felix Aziz Thompson is supervising geologist.
You will see that there are 3 main zones of bauxite here. So it's encouraging. Between 0 to maximum, about average 20 meters, it's all bauxite. As soon as you enter into the clay, we don't go more than 1 meter into the clay.
Meanwhile, GIADEC has assured the adoption of acceptable practices in bauxite mining with deployment of best technology in the field.
First of all, adhering to international best practice. We're also being supervised by the regulatory agencies in Ghana. So whether it's Water Commission, EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, Forestry Commission, etc., all these have regulations that we have to work with. And then the international best practice allows us to make sure that what we're doing is leading edge in terms of what is happening in bauxite mining. And that's what we want to do in terms of reforestation, in terms of responsible management of the environmental issues around mining.
Nana Aljima, Kumasi.
Now, the Canadian business community in Ghana is calling on government to review the value-added tax on exploration activities in the extractive sector. According to the Trade Commissioner, the Canadian High Commission, Peter Fiamo, VAT is a disincentive to many Canadian businesses seeking to invest in the country. He spoke at a forum organized by the Canada-Ghana Chamber of Commerce, of which we have more in this report.
Trade Commissioner at the Canadian High Commission, Peter Fiamore, is urging government to create a favorable environment for more investments. According to him, although the Canadian business community has invested about $1 billion Canadian in Ghana's mining sector, it is concerned about the high cost of operations.
We are trying to grow bilateral trade relations between Ghana and Canada, of course. So in order to do that, we have to look at Canada's areas of expertise, where we think Canada has a strong role to play. And one of the areas is in the mining sector. In the mining sector, there's almost close to $1 billion Canadian dollars invested in Ghana already. I mean, if you need to attract investment in terms of exploration or exploiting new resources, we have to look at the value-added tax on exploration, on some exploration activities. Those would have to be looked at critically, because that is a disincentive to attract new dollars in exploiting for new resources. Exploration is risky. About 99% of what is exploited doesn't lead to anything. Some businesses, because of this VAT, will prefer to go to Burkina, Mali, Cote d'Ivoire. Politically, they may not be safe havens, but it's a cost-benefit analysis. So they are willing to take the political risk, but obviously the economic conditions are right for them to go into those countries.
The Canada-Ghana Chamber of Commerce held a forum to educate its members and gather concerns on how to improve operations of members. President of the Chamber, Alexander Norte, advised members to be intentional about basic requirements of owning a business that would have an international appeal.
Most businesses, they need to do the basics. They need to make sure they have a business website, have a business card, have a business profile, the basics that they can, that other businesses can refer to. Apart from what they're saying, they have to go and do their online checks and see that, yes, this business is actually in business, and what they say is what they can read online. This business environment sometimes don't ask certain businesses to have their registrations or to pay their taxes and to have their environmental licenses and so forth. Yes, and the Canadian market, normally, if you're in the building construction business, they look for things like quality and safety manual, something as simple as that.
Now, 24 underprivileged students in the Western region have received scholarships for the duration of their studies at the tertiary level from Chirano Limited. The $26,000 worth of scholarship is part of the mine's effort to economically empower the youth and human resource capital in the catchment communities. Managers say the mine has so far spent a total of $43,000 for the 2 batches of students. We have more in this report.
6 students were awarded the General Manager Scholarship Scheme and 18 students were awarded the Toronto Seshiman Foundation Scholarship Scheme. Last year, 30 students benefited from the scheme, and this brings to a total of 54 the number of students currently being fully funded at the tertiary level by the company. The total spent on this year's scholarship is 153,000 Ghana cedis, bringing the total annual spent on scholarships to 260,000 Ghana cedis, including the first batch. Terence Watungwa is Vice President of the Chirano Gold Mine Limited.
Chirano Gold Mines recognizes education as a critical support element in the advancement of our local communities. And as you are aware, over the years we've sponsored educational infrastructure such as classrooms, ICT labs, and teachers' quarters. And on that note, I'm very proud and excited to announce that next week Chirano will commission a new junior high school block for the community of Echogo.
Andila Dansowa Bwajowa, a student of the University of Mines and Technology studying minerals engineering, on behalf of the awardees lauded the company for the establishment of the Chirano Seshiman Foundation Scholarship.
I stand on behalf of all the awardees and everyone here and give the most gratitude to the management team, the company as a whole. I would like to take this opportunity to caution or advise our awardees to take this opportunity or the scholarship given us that we should study very hard and improve in our academics so that our next generation will also be offered this opportunity.
The head of Inspectorate Division of GES Western North Region, Felix Akumenin, expressed gratitude to the company for their immense contribution to the development of education in the region.
Having granted our students this opportunity, we are so much grateful to you for what you have done. We want also to say that to my students, we believe that from where you have come from, you're going to make us proud wherever you are today.
Anita Sawajuge's report read to you.
That'll be for business. We have international business news, after which Oreko Ampofo joins us once again for sports. Do stay with us.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the second part of the sports segment here on the Joy News Prime with me, Oreko Ampofo. Leicester City winger Ademola Lookman has had his application to change nationality to represent Nigeria instead of England approved by FIFA earlier on Thursday. The 24-year-old is on loan at the King Power Stadium from RB Leipzig, having previously represented Everton and Charlton Athletic. Lookman has not represented England's senior national team, but was at the under-19, under-20 and then under-21 youth international. He was part of the squad that also won the under-20 World Cup in 2017. Now, he grew up in Peckman. Both his parents are Nigerian, and his path follows that of Alex Iwobi, who also declared for Nigeria after representing England at junior level in 2015, and then Joe Aribo, who also grew up in a neighboring Camberwell. Sone Oluko, Victor Moses, Shola Amiobi, and Ola Aina have all successfully swapped nationalities to Nigeria. Now, the Nigerian Football Federation Chief Scout Tunde Adelekun has been speaking about why they went in for Lookman, and they said that the player showed desire to play for them. Now here's what's important, especially for Ghanaians. Now, since Lookman has not played for the England national team, he's eligible to face the Black Stars in the two-legged World Cup playoff for a spot in Qatar next month. Well, from Lookman, let's move straight to talk about the Black Stars technical team, where we know there's been a 4-man team appointed to lead the Black Stars when they face Nigeria next month. But what we don't know is how football fans around the country have been reacting to the newly constituted Black Stars technical team after the dismissal of Milovan Raivach. Love FM's Steve Zando has been reporting from the Garden City, Kumasi.
Residents of Kumasi are divided on the newly constituted Black Stars technical team, which has Otuado as head coach with Chris Houghton serving as the technical advisor. The decision to appoint former Newcastle and Brighton and Hove Albion manager Chris Houghton has, however, prompted confusion and divided opinions on the streets of Kumasi.
It's the best decision to appoint Otuado as the head coach of the team because he's a man who's trained with the team before. He's been assistant coach of this same team. He knows the players and he's trained with them before. And it's only a few days for the game against Nigeria to train with the team. So it's the best decision. But then my only concern is we are appointing other technical members of the team for Otuado who we don't know whether he'll be compatible to work very well with him, whether they will agree with his plans, his philosophy or whatever. Given the tax and I thought it could have been best to give the man the freedom to probably choose his own technical team to work with for us to possibly get the best results out of this Nigeria game.
Difference between the technical advisor and the technical director. Already we were having a technical director. So what is the main difference between technical advisor and technical director? This is a political suit because Chris Houghton was supposed to be named as the Black Stars head coach. Why then do we go in for Otuado, who has no vast experience? Which teams has he managed? What is the track record? What is the main experience? Chris Houghton has managed Newcastle United, Brighton and Hove Albion, Norwich City, at least 4 Premier League years experience. So how then do we choose Otuado as the head coach and Didi Dramani as the first assistant coach?
I believe in Otuado because I like local coaches, and this AFCON has proved that indeed local coaches are actually the ones who are going to take us there. Senegal has proven that, and Egypt as well has also proven that with their own local coach, even Burkina Faso as well. And so I think it's a time we all have to man up and say, irregardless of whether there's going to be a white coach on the team or a white person on the technical team, it doesn't matter. All that we need to do is believe in ourselves.
Ghana's FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022 playoff first leg against Nigeria will take place at the Cape Coast Stadium on Thursday, March 24, 2022, with the return leg set to take place in Abuja on March 29, 2022.
From football, let's do some rugby, where the male and female national teams have intensified preparations for the 7th World Cup final shootout, which comes off in April. Ghana, who can secure a historic berth at the World Cup, emerged champions of the pre-World Cup qualifier. Head coach Lovemore Kuzorera expects the Eagles to exhibit their quality in Uganda and Tunisia.
Definitely we are going to build from that. You know, the guys really did well, and they really showed up in the tournament, and from here onwards, I believe we have a base of what we are trying to do in the main tournament. So continuing from where we left is the best way. This is a World Cup qualifier. This is I think our 4th tournament since 2017. So basically now we don't have an excuse. Of course we are playing good teams and good countries who have been to the World Cup and to the Commonwealth before, but we are trying to give ourselves a chance. So training hard from now into April can give us a chance. We have a good team, mixing up with some of the foreign-based guys. Our captain is in South Africa, and some of the guys also are playing South Africa, and we are looking at bringing in 1 or 2, 3 guys from Europe to come into the squad and bolster the squad to make it stronger. We believe we have a chance of it's a qualifier, so you don't go into a tournament preparing to lose. You also try to give yourself a chance. I believe we can do it, so we are trying to do that.
Well, that's the note on which we wrap up the sports segment here. You can get some more sports stories on myjoyonline/sports, or follow us on social media on Twitter @JoySportsGH. My name is Oreku Ampofo.
Well, and that's how we wrap up Joy News Prime on the Joy News channel. My name is Blessed Oga. Don't forget to log on to myjoyonline.com. We have updates on all of our running stories.